Hi everyone, my name is Carver Wolf and this is a workshop video on creating proper works cited pages in both MLA and APA format. Let's get started. So first let's discuss how to create a works cited page. You're going to begin by typing out the words works cited at the top of a separate page in your document and center it as the title of the page. Then start including your sources. When writing out your sources, use the format author's last name, comma, author's first name, period, like this, Dean, comma, Cornelia, period. To organize your sources, put your citations in alphabetical order based on each author's last name. For example, Dean, comma, Cornelia, period, then Ebert, comma, Roger, period, then Gowdy, comma, John, period, and so on and so forth. Make sure you put a period after the author's last name. To be more specific, let's discuss how to cite an online source in your works cited page. So to begin, you're going to put a period after the author's name. Next, place a quotation mark before the article title, being sure to capitalize the title properly. Place a period at the end of the title and enclose it with another quotation mark. Now include the title of the source in italics, right here. Also include the edition, volume, or issue number if applicable. Put a comma after the italicized source, followed by the date, if you're citing a newspaper, which we'll get into later. Be sure to put this date in MLA format, which with the day first, followed by the month, and then the year, followed by a comma. Include a comma after the date and then put the URL of the source, followed by a period. Lastly, put the day you viewed the source, starting with the word accessed, followed by the date in MLA format with a period at the end. Make sure you remember to indent each line except for the one with the author's name. To properly cite a book in your paper, include the name of the author using the previous format, last name, comma, first name, period. Then find when and where the book is published, which is usually on your publishing page, 1 or 2 pages into the book. Before that, though, you need to write the title of your book in italics, followed by a period. After you find the publication information, start with the publisher, followed by a comma, and then the publication date, followed by a period. If your book includes a city of publication, put that before the publisher. For example, Henley, comma, Patricia, period, would be the author's name. Italics would be the title of the book, which is The Hummingbird House. There is no city of publication in this, so you just put McMurray, comma, 1999, period. List the authors in the same order they're listed on the book, listing the first author by last name, first name, and the second author by first name, comma, last name, period. Now is a good time to pause this video to work on the MLA section of the worksheet provided. Most high schools use MLA format as the primary method of citations for all papers, no matter the subject. Because many students most likely have experience with MLA, we will briefly go over in-text citations in MLA format. So when incorporating a quote into a sentence, you must use a signal phrase to introduce the quote. For example, you could introduce the author and then just put the page number in parentheses at the end of the sentence. An example of that would be, human beings have been described by Kenneth Burke as symbol-using animals, parentheses 3, period. Here, Kenneth Burke is the signal phrase as it introduces the source where the information was found. Because you already introduced the author, you don't need to put the author in the parenthesis, you just put the page number you found the quote on. However, you don't have to use a signal phrase every time. In fact, sometimes it's better if you seamlessly incorporate the quote into your sentence. An example of that would be, human beings have been described as, quote, symbol-using animals, quote. Then you would put a parenthesis, Burke 3, because Burke is the author where you found the source, and 3, which is the page number you found it on. Close the parentheses and put a period after. If you decide to do this, instead of introducing the author in your signal phrase, you must put the author and the page number in the parentheses at the end. So now that we've talked a little bit about MLA works cited pages and in-text citations, we're going to switch gears. Next we'll be talking about APA. If you're writing a paper for a class in the social sciences, your professor will likely ask you to use American Psychological Association style. APA is a bit different than MLA, and learning the ropes can seem challenging at first. To begin, let's discuss how to create a reference list. Instead of works cited, you're going to write references at the top. One of the first differences you'll notice between MLA and APA is the way you write the name of the author. So here you start with the last name of the first author, or the last name of the author, followed by a comma with their initials instead of their first name. So it'd be Bernd, T period, J period. If you have two authors, include the first author's name followed by a comma and an ampersand with the second author's name to follow. So here you would say Bernd, T period, J period, ampersand, Keith, K period. You keep it as last name, first initial in the APA format as opposed to MLA where you write last name, first name, and first name, last name. You should include the names of all the authors provided by your source if possible. So if your source has 3 to 7 authors like here, you would write Kernis, M period, H period, Cornell, D period, P period, Sun, C period, R period, Barry, A period, Harlow, T period, ampersand, Bach, J period, S period. So with the last author listed, you're going to write an ampersand sign. Next, after figuring out how many authors you have, you must include the year of publication of your source. To format this properly, open parentheses, type in the year of the publication provided, and close the parentheses, then place a period after it. Let's take another moment to pause the video and practice writing out the author list on the provided worksheet. If you are citing a journal, you should then provide the title of the journal you are citing in its entirety, using the same capitalization and punctuation from the title given by your source. So here you would put the authors provided, the year, title of the article in normal font, title of periodical and volume number in italics, parentheses put the issue number, and that with another parentheses, comma, and then put the page numbers, period. Then put the link that you found that source at here. If you're citing a book, you should capitalize the first letter of the first word and any proper nouns, but other than that, leave the first letters of additional words lowercase. You should also be sure to italicize the titles of books or journals. Then include the volume or edition of the book or journal in italics with a comma after it, and then the page number range where you found your information in italics. That completes your citation. So here you would put the authors, the year that it was published. Here's where the article title goes, and note that the proper nouns are not capitalized in neither of the other words, which is different than MLA. Then you find where it was published and by who. Citing an online article, like an article from an online newspaper, you cite your source in a similar fashion to that of a book, but also must include the article's URL at the end of your citation. So all you have to write is the author's name, the year it was published, the title of the article, the newspaper that you found it in, and then you put retrieved from and the link where you found it. It's pretty simple. Make sure you italicize the title of the newspaper, and you always have to include retrieved from with the link. Always remember to have a hanging indent like right here on your references page, no matter what format you're using, MLA or APA. So now we need to explore what we must do in order to make proper in-text citations with APA format. We always want to be sure our citations are correct to avoid any chance of plagiarism. Being careful about plagiarism is always a good idea. At any institution, plagiarism is taken very seriously, even if it's done accidentally. That's why you should always make sure you know the proper rules for citing your sources in the format your teacher or professor requests. In APA format, your in-text citations are also different than MLA. Don't worry though, because it's not that complicated. You just need to include a little bit more information. If you use a signal phrase like this, according to Coates, before your quotation, you just need to include the publication date after the author's name in parentheses and the page number at the end of the quotation in parentheses, right here. All you need to do, formatting-wise, is include the parentheses. No italics, bold type, or anything of that sort. As long as you have the information you need, in-text citations in APA are quick and painless. If you've never heard the term signal phrase, I'll explain. This simply means you add a small fragment before your quotation, introducing your quote with the author's name included. So for example, if you were citing Between the World and Me by Ta-Nehisi Coates, you would say, according to Coates, followed by the date of publication of the work, and then insert the quotation and end it with a page number. Simply put all the information from above in one set of parentheses separated by a comma after your quotation if you choose to not use a signal phrase. So for example, you would include your quote right here and say, end the quote, put a comma and say Coates, comma, 2015, comma, and then the page number. Close the parentheses and put a period. Even if you aren't using a direct quotation from an author and instead decide to paraphrase their ideas, you still need to include a citation or it would be considered plagiarism. This goes for MLA and APA format. Avoid using quotation marks, but include the name and year of publication in parentheses separated by a comma at the end of your summary or paraphrase. A source with two authors should be cited in a similar fashion. When writing a signal phrase before your quotation, write out the author's full names with the word "and" in between. However, in the parenthetical citation at the end of your quote, you should use only the author's last name separated by an ampersand followed by the year of publication. A source with 3 to 5 authors should include all of the authors' names in the same fashion as a two-author citation the first time you cite the source, and then all subsequent citations should include only the last name of the first listed author, followed by et al. Et al. Just means and others in Latin, which means you're including the first listed other and all the other authors too. A source with 6 or more authors, you should only use the first author's name and then et al. In both the parenthetical citation and any signal phrase you use for any citation in the paper. With the right help, writing your citations can be the simplest part of writing a paper. Hopefully you've learned enough today to help your paper go smoothly. All images and information on APA and MLA citations are from the Purdue OWL's web pages on each type of formatting, unless otherwise noted. Purdue OWL is another great source if you have questions about any aspect of properly formatting a paper. Thanks for watching!